Well, hello there. My name is Jason Stapleton, and thanks for showing up. You know, as entrepreneurs, we all want more customers, but we have a very serious problem. We are working way too hard for the poor results that we're getting. Now, diagnosing this problem is relatively simple. Not enough people know about us, and not enough people buy from us. So why is it so stinking difficult? Well, I think part of the problem is just overwhelm. I mean, think about it. First, you have all of the different ad platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Now, each of those platforms has its own little nuances and rules that you're supposed to follow. And then you got direct mail and magazine and newspaper ads, you got billboards and flyers. Then there's all this content that we're supposed to be creating. But what does that even mean? What kind of content should you be focused on? Should we be doing videos like this or writing a blog? Okay? What are you supposed to say? How long is it supposed to be? The worst part is we get conflicting information even from the people that we trust. And then there's the sales funnels and all the tactical aspects of creating the automations and the follow-up sequences. And we can't forget about the copywriting, all the sales letters and the videos and the webinars and the consultation calls that we use to sell our products and services. So we're told each of those has a different and very specific formula that you have to follow if you want to get the lead and you want to make the sale. And finally, there's email. Okay? What are you supposed to say? Should it be long or short? How many times should you email your list? And on and on and on and on and on. Yeah? Now, if you've been in business for any length of time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, luckily, I got some good news. So it turns out it doesn't really matter whether you're creating a Facebook ad or a content video for YouTube or writing a 10-page sales letter. They all follow the same simple formula. And in this training, I'm going to teach that formula to you. And when you're done, you're going to walk away with a step-by-step blueprint that will help get you noticed while building goodwill and trust with your ideal prospects. And ultimately, if we've done everything right, will lead to more sales. Now, why on earth would I take the time to do that for you? Well, I like to practice what I preach. And I know that if I can help you simplify your lead generation and your sales process by just sharing with you what's working for me, then we are far more likely to do business together in the future. Now, my only goal for right now is to be super helpful because frankly, the stakes that we face right now are huge. You see, if we get this right, if we master the marketing and the sales game, it's going to create massive demand for what we have. It's going to lead to increased recognition as we build trust and authority in our industry, which of course reduces buyer resistance and makes that whole process easier. It means greater stability in our companies, which translates into fewer sleepless nights, you and I trying to figure out where the next sale is going to come from. And we can't overlook what the financial impact can have on our personal lives. See, if you're like me, you started in business to build the kind of life that other people only read about. To wake up and work on what you love, to travel, to see the world, to give your kids a better life than the one that you and I had growing up. I don't think it's going too far to say that we really face a life or death situation because being able to effectively market and sell what you do is what makes the life you want possible. So who am I? All right, very quickly. My name is Jason Stapleton, and for the majority of my entrepreneurial career, I have used what I am about to teach you to grow my companies and brands. In 2009, I started what would become one of the largest and most well-respected trading education firms in the world, with tens of thousands of clients in over 110 countries. In 2014, I launched my podcast, Wealth, Power, and Influence, that quickly became the #1 show on iTunes in its category with over 30,000 daily listeners. In 2017, I was plucked up by the History Channel to host a little show called The Tesla Files, and that show, in addition to being really great for my brand, also let me travel all over the world. It was really exciting. And then, in 2018, I started the Stapleton Agency that helps entrepreneurs and businesses just like yours improve the results that they get from their marketing and branding. Now, over the last decade, I have written every sales letter and email that my company has used to sell our products. I also wrote every script and recorded every content video we use to build our lead lists, all while managing our ad campaigns that often had budgets that ran into the tens of thousands of dollars a month. Now, here's why that's important. If you are like most business owners, odds are you don't have a marketing department. Okay? You don't have a professional copywriter on staff. You don't even have somebody to help manage your advertising for you. Like me, you are the face of your brand, the chief marketing officer, the content creator, and the head idea guy for your company. Okay? You know how important marketing and sales is to your company's survival, but you can't spend all day, every day working on it. Neither could I, right? But it is the most important part of your business. Your ability to feed your family is directly tied to how well you can effectively communicate the value of what you do. Like I said, life or death. Now, realizing how important this was to my business and also recognizing and admitting the limitations of my own time, I had to develop a simpler system for marketing and selling my products. Over the years, I've refined them and improved upon them. And now, for the very first time, I'm going to teach them to you. So let's jump right in. All right, first we need to clarify a few terms so we both know what we're talking about and we're on the same page. So we got marketing, sales, and advertising. I've mentioned a couple of those already, but what's the difference between the three of them? Most people just lump them all in together, but they are each very unique and distinctive. Now, the best definition that I could come up with for marketing is this: communication that facilitates decision. It's all about gaining attention and building interest in what you've got to offer. You know, it's crazy to think about, but the way we buy stuff really has not changed at all in hundreds, maybe even thousands of years. First, something grabs our attention. Then we become kind of interested in it, maybe a little bit intrigued by what we see or read. Then a little desire starts to build and we get a little excited, maybe a little bit of sense of urgency to act. And then finally, we buy. And for a long time, that's how we actually visualize the process. I mean, you take a look at you guys have seen this before, right? It's your classic traditional funnel that we've all been taught since we got into online businesses or online marketing. Put some people in the top and eventually some of them will fall out the bottom as customers. But in 2020, with all the information available and with most people doing some or all of their shopping online, this is really a better way of visualizing what your prospect is doing during that initial interest and desire phase. Think about the last time you bought something. Once our interest is piqued, we start looking around for more information, don't we? Who is this person who's talking to me? Can I trust them? Is there a review of the product or the service on Amazon or YouTube? Is this something that could solve the pain or problem that I've got? Now, during that interest phase, your prospect is going to go looking for anything and everything that they can find about you and your offer. All of your content that you're creating should both create interest while at the same time deepening that trust and connection that you've got with them. Now, if you're wondering exactly how to do this, don't worry, I have some great examples for you just a little bit later. What is important for you to understand now is that we do not use our marketing to sell. That comes later. All we need to do in this phase is get their attention and create some interest in what we've got. So now that we understand marketing and what marketing is, let's talk a little bit about selling. The easiest way to think about selling is to think of it as a process rather than an event. And what you're selling is going to drive your sales process. I'm going to give you, here's a few examples on exactly what I mean. So let's say that you're like me and you own an information business. And so what you might see from me in terms of my marketing is a content video that teaches you a lesson or helps you understand a principle easier. And at the end of that marketing piece, that content video, I'm going to ask you to go and sign up for a webinar to learn more about what I just taught you. You then go and sign up for the webinar, you watch the webinar, and at the end of that webinar, I present you with an offer to buy something, and then you buy. So the marketing that I'm doing is that content video that I'm putting online. My sales process starts when you decide to sign up for the webinar. Okay? All right, let's try another one. Let's say you own a pizza shop. Well, the marketing that you're doing might be a promotional coupon that you put online on Facebook or on Instagram that says, come on in and save 20%, buy one medium, get the second one half price, something along those lines, right? And that marketing is designed to get people into your sales process, which for you is them showing up at the restaurant, Once they show up at the restaurant, they sit down as a family and they have a nice family dinner. So again, the marketing is the coupon. The sales process starts when your customer hits the door to your restaurant. Okay? Let's look at one more. Let's say you're a chiropractor. Okay? And so your marketing that you're doing might be to send them a flyer in the mail, or to put something on their car, or to hand it out at the grocery store, however you do it. And on the flyer, it says, call for a free, no obligation appointment. And this is really common, as a matter of fact, in the chiropractic space. I've worked with a couple of chiropractors over the years, and really common to see this. It's just like, hey, are you in pain? Well, come in, let us take a look at you, no obligation, and see if we can't help you. And at the end of that, it goes to that once they make that phone call and they show up at your office and get the appointment, then they get a treatment. And that's how they get new customers. So the marketing is the flyer. The start of the sales process is when they pick up the phone to call you for the free, no obligation assessment. So all that marketing that you're doing is designed to turn a cold, unaware prospect into a warm lead that then you can drive into your sales process. Okay? So let me show you exactly how this works in practice. Now, here are a few of the content pieces that I created for you that may have got you here today. Now, it doesn't matter which piece of content that you saw, they all directed you to one of two opt-in pages here. Now, if you read all those content pieces, I know you didn't have time, but if you read the content pieces, you'll notice I never tried to sell you anything. Okay? What the content did was get your attention and pique your interest enough to get you to raise your hand, figuratively speaking, and tell me that you were interested in learning more. I got your attention and I piqued your interest. That's all I did, and that's all your marketing has to do. So now that we understand the marketing and what our content should be doing that we're creating, and we understand the concept of the sales process, that leaves advertising. And advertising is the simplest one of all, okay? Advertising is nothing more than spending money to promote your marketing. It works like this. You create some content, like this one that I showed you earlier, and then you give Facebook some money, and you tell Facebook, I want you to show this to a bunch of other people who might be interested. That's it. And yes, I know there are ad agencies and there are consultants who have created an entire industry for themselves by complicating things to death, but at its core, that's all advertising is. So it used to be years ago that you could get around doing paid ads if you just built a big enough following. That is until sites like Facebook and YouTube realized that, hey, if I just limit the number of people who see your content, I'm going to force you to buy more advertising. And today it's estimated that only about 6% of the people who follow you online see the content that you're posting. You probably experienced a little bit of that yourself, especially if you've been around for any length of time. So paid ads are something that we all have to face. And if you're here, I would imagine that you have already tried to buy some paid advertising once or twice, and I would guess that the results were not that great. Now, the reason that you are having so much trouble getting your paid ads to convert is because those ads are reaching a cold audience rather than a warm one. If someone already knows, likes, and trusts you, then convincing them to buy from you, especially if they bought something from you before, is relatively easy. That's because they've already been through that kind of discovery phase that we talked about before when we looked at the funnel. But for your content to be effective at converting a cold prospect into a lead, it's going to take some real copywriting skills. So what I want to give you today is my 3-step formula for creating content that converts cold prospects into warm leads. That's the first step towards the sale. Now, after we get the lead, we need to try to sell them some stuff. And then finally, we need to follow up with them if they don't buy right away. And let's face it, 90% of the people, 98% of the people are not going to buy the very first time. Now, we can't make the sale until we get the lead. And to get the lead, we have to gain their attention and pique their interest. And maybe, if we're really good, start to build a little bit of desire. So how do we do that? Simple as simple can be. 3 steps. Okay? First, call out your prospect. Just get their attention. It's like saying, hey, you. I'll show you an example in a minute. Number 2, identify the pain or the problem. If you say, hey, you, do you suffer from this? That's going to get somebody's attention. And finally, You're going to show them the solution, and that will start to build that desire. Now, let's look at an example that's fresh in your mind. I want you to think back to the beginning of this video. What was the first thing that I said to you? As entrepreneurs, we all want more customers, but we have a very serious problem. We are working way too hard for the poor results that we're getting. In just a few words, I was able to get your attention by speaking directly to you and then identify the problem to pique your interest. From there, I actually went a step further in that interest phase by defining the problem when I said this. Now, diagnosing this problem is relatively simple. Not enough people know about us and not enough people buy from us. So why is it so stinking difficult? In just 4 sentences, I addressed both attention and interest. Now, if you're not an entrepreneur, or if you are, but you don't have any trouble getting leads or making sales, then you're gone, right? You're not listening to me, but that's okay, because this training was not meant for you, okay? But because you do need help with those things, you kept watching. And here's what's critically important. You don't want to mess this up. None of this is about you. It is 100% about them, your prospect, their pain, their problems, their fears, their struggles, because nobody cares about you until they know that you have something that they want, okay? And last but not least, we have to show them the solution. I did that with a couple of sentences. Take a look. Now, if you've been in business for any length of time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, luckily, I got some good news. See, it turns out it doesn't really matter whether you're creating a Facebook ad or a content video for YouTube or writing a 10-page sales letter. They all follow the same simple formula. And in this training, I'm going to teach that formula to you. And when you're done, you're going to walk away with a step-by-step blueprint that will help get you noticed while building goodwill and trust with your ideal prospects. And ultimately, if we've done everything right, will lead to more sales. Guys, I cannot overemphasize the fact that you do not need to overcomplicate this. And most entrepreneurs try to get fancy and it ends up backfiring. We humans are very simple creatures, and this formula really does work. But how can you be so sure, right? Well, because you're here, right? There is no better proof than when we see it work on us. Okay, so we've covered a lot today, and we got a whole lot more to come, but I want to do a quick recap for you. Let's talk about what it is that you've learned so far. Okay? First, we got clear on what we're doing by defining the difference between marketing, sales, and advertising. Okay? Next, you learned how and why we create content and how we use it to grab attention, build interest, and lead people into our sales process. Next, you discovered the 4 phases every buyer goes through before they buy, and I gave you my 3-step conversion framework for creating content that converts cold prospects into warm leads. Now, my goal for this video was twofold, okay? First, it was to give you some clarity on what you should be doing and why. There are too many entrepreneurs out there who are creating all kinds of stuff with absolutely no idea what they're supposed to be accomplishing. Now you know. Okay? And then second is I wanted to give you a framework that you could use right now, today, to start converting more cold prospects into leads. And now you have that. What I want you to do now is to go and break out a pen and paper and just start jotting down a few different ways that you can use that 3-step conversion framework in your business with your products. And once you're done with that, while the iron is hot, while it's fresh in your mind, go put together those content pieces and get them out there and see if you can't start attracting a few more prospects and convert those into leads. And then finally, this is the one thing I'll ask you to do, is if you got value out of this video, then do me a favor and just grab the link from above and just share it with somebody or everybody and let everybody else benefit from this free training series as well. Now, in the next video, we're going to dive into phase 2, which is the offer, which is by far the most important part of any good sales message. And just like today, I'm going to give you some tools that should instantly improve the results that you're getting from your current sales process. Now, until then, I wish you wealth, health, and happiness beyond measure. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.